I was talking to Prof. Lee back an hour ago, and he suggests you guys use like ChatGPT and see if they can find bugs in real world, because they can find small bugs, but if the project is big, I'm not sure like how much it will be useful. But it's fun. Like you have an interact prompt and you ask like what's wrong with this piece of code.
I think you can't do it now.
No?
Stop.
Really? Too many people?
Saturated.
Okay.
I tried it stopped service.
So first we're gonna talk about elephant money incident. This is a project on BSC, and second is the cream finance incident. It's another project that's on Ethereum. First, brief introduction about this project. So Elephant Money is a stablecoin project based on algorithmic support. It uses reserve to mint Chunk. Chunk is pegged to BUSD, and the revenue and value is backed by Elephant reward tokens and a vault system built from BUSD. And that is the website of their project. After the attack, the token price just crashed, and the chunk was depegged from USD. So Eagle Eye is our monitoring system. So basically, we monitor all the high-risk transactions, and we flag them and output them for researchers to conduct further analysis. Our system detected that this project was under a price manipulation attack. After we used our transaction analysis tool, the incident was found, and this attack was conducted by attackers using flash loan to manipulate the redemption mechanism. And you can find the detailed information of those transactions in BSC scan if you open up your browser and just go to those addresses. And you can see the attack transaction, attacker's address, and attacker's contract. And this is a blockchain forensic tool, analysis tool. And I have some recommendations. Like you have choices to use different analysis tool to dive deep into transactions. So for this tool is developed by Sam CZ. That you can just select network and input in transaction, and it will give you the detailed analysis. So yeah, it's loading. There's also a Tenderly that you can use. It supports more chains. So if your intended chain is not on one website, you can try different ones. Yeah, let's continue while it is loading. So we can see that the attacker first borrowed 91 million BUSD and 131,000 WBNB. So this is the WBNB it borrowed from the Cake LP pair. And this one is the one he borrowed BUSD. This one he borrowed the BUSD. So that's the flash loan part of transaction. Cake is pancake.
Pancake.
Pancake is the pancake router and pancake swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Uniswap in BSC.
Right.
Yeah, so as you can see, the different tools have different features in analyzing transactions. So as we can see, we can have this overview. We first look at Tenderly. So we have this overview, and this is the call stack. This transaction is very complex. That's why the call stack is a lot. Our daily job is to look into those transactions and see how hackers did their heist. And the contract is the contract involved in this transaction. You can see pancake, pair, and elephant, and elephant treasury. They are involved in this transaction. The most useful feature is the debugger. If you know where it is wrong, you can actually step into the transaction and figure out what was the parameter being passed in at the time. This one still hasn't finished loading. So next, the attacker swapped the borrowed BNB for 34 trillion elephant tokens via pancake swap, which makes the price of elephant tokens rise drastically. So as we can see, this amount of BNB is transferred destination, which is the pancake swap, and then elephant is being transferred to attacker's address. Elephant project also has an unverified contract. That means it's closed sourced. You can only see the bytecode. The attacker calls this function. The attackers call this contract. You might wonder, like, how can an attacker interact with a closed sourced contract? But my guess would be, because I also view the past transaction on this closed source contract, the attacker just viewed the past transactions and craft his own transaction without knowing the exact source code of the contract. You can view the past transactions using transaction viewer and have a basic idea of what this function does and how those parameters are being passed. So this function is to pass in the caller's BUSD, mint trunk tokens for the caller based on the number of incoming BUSD tokens, and then convert the BUSD to WBNB proportionally, then swap WBNB for elephant tokens. It will send the remaining BUSD after the caller transfers in a conversion with the converted elephant tokens to the treasury contract. And liquidity will be added to the remaining BUSD of contract with the newly minted trunk token. So as we can see, this function is unknown, but we know what it does based on the transaction analysis. So afterwards, the attacker transferred 90 million BUSD tokens, and the contract minted roughly the same number of trunk tokens, because trunk is supposed to be a peg of BUSD. The contract then converts 22.53 million of these BUSD into about 3 trillion elephant tokens, and then sends the remaining BUSD and elephant to the treasury contract. And this contract will add liquidity to the remaining BUSD and the trunk token. So this will be clear if we read their documentation and understand their business logic. So the attacker then swapped the elephant tokens redeemed in step 2 back to 163,000 BNB via pancake swap. The reason why more BNB can be swapped is that there's a double BNB to elephant converting operation in step 3, which eventually led to a price drop in elephant tokens. The attacker then used another unknown function to redeem the tokens. It uses the trunk token minted in step 4 to redeem the BUSD and elephant tokens. At this point, the contract will calculate how much elephant can be swapped by the 22 million BUSD in step 4 and send the BUSD and elephant to the attacker. In the end, 60.88 million BUSD and 64 elephants are sent to the attacker, much greater than the 3 trillion elephant deposit in step 4. So we can see the attacker got way more elephant tokens than he deposited. It is this step that makes the elephant token. It is the fifth step that makes the the fifth step makes the price of elephant token in the double BNB and elephant pair extremely low. So the calculated amount of elephant is extremely large. And this is a classic example of attackers using flash loan to manipulate the redeem system and get more rewards than he should get. So the final step is attacker selling the elephant token. And now the attacker profited about 16,000 BNBs after repaying flash loan. The attacker also carried out other attacks using the same method, gaining another 27,000 BNBs. So as we can see that this attack transaction is usually quite complex and including price manipulation. Okay. So this one's offline. And we have a trace platform that we can trace the fund flow. Okay, so this is our platform for fund tracing. And if we select chain, we can perform some basic query. And we can also do path tracing. And this community portrait is to portray a group of actors that are malicious, but their addresses are linked. And this is forensics. So basically, we can contact exchange if the attacker's address interact with them. And also we support advanced investigation, which will output reports, and this is monitor alert. That if there's movement in their malicious address, then we can get an alert. So in this example, the attacker's address is here. So we can see we can get all the paths that attackers took afterwards. This is a report example from the advanced investigation. Yeah, so we can see that some of those assets flow into decentralized exchange, and some of the assets, including 1,500 BNBs, will flow into Tornado Cash. Yeah, let's look at Cream Finance incident.
Did they ever find out?
Sorry?
Did they ever recover the fund? Did they find out who did it?
No, they didn't.
Is flash loan manipulation regarded as a crime?
Flash loan.
Because they say
Yeah.
smart contract is law, right?
Yeah.
So if that's what the law is saying.
Yeah.
To use it to manipulate it, that's some people regard it as legal.
Flash loan is considered as unfair trading by SEC. Yeah. So, like, I think operators will still get arrested if their identities are revealed. Yeah, like I think the recent example was the Avraham Eisenberg. I don't know if I pronounced his name correct, but he basically is the Mango market exploiter. He profited about $100 million. And was recently arrested in Puerto Rico, I think, yeah, by FBI, and they're probably gonna indict him based on this like unfair market trading manipulation, because you are basically manipulating market and trying to get profits. And yeah, there's no like known case of those operators being sentenced yet, so we will see like how it will go. Yeah. So Cream Finance is the victim of flash loan attacks multiple times. It is a decentralized lending protocol that can serve users on Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, and Phantom. Currently, it offers lending service for a total of 86 crypto assets. Users can earn income from staking assets and then receive a CR token, which they can subsequently use to redeem the stake assets or borrow corresponding percentage of assets from the Cream Finance protocol through CR token. So basically, it's a lending protocol, and lending and staking protocol. And our system detected a potential malicious transaction when the attack happened. The root cause is in Cream C tokens contract lending logic vulnerability. So in this case, the transaction is in Ethereum, so you can view the transaction in Etherscan. Yeah, so when we look at this malicious address, we see that the attacker is really experienced. He carried out several attacks with the same technique. So first, we see that in this block that he borrowed 500 Ether through a flash loan, and then staked in CR/ETH to obtain this CR/ETH LP tokens. So yeah, first he borrowed 500 ETH, and then he staked in it, so he get the CR/ETH, and then it's being staked to get LP tokens. Next, the attacker borrowed about 19 million AMPs via the CR/AMP contract using the collateral from the first step. The LP token can also be used as collateral. Where this vulnerability occurs, the AMP tokens are sent in a process that calls the callback function of the target address. So AMP token is vulnerable because it actually falls in the pattern of yesterday's reentrancy vulnerability that calls back to the function of the attacker's address. So as we can see, the attacker's address 0, 0 start with 0x, 38C4, that is attacker's address. And it was called back by this AMP token. And now the attacker borrowed again in the attacker contract. Although the borrow function of the CRAMP contract has an anti-reentrancy function, the attacker does not borrow AMP tokens for the second time, but borrows ETH through the CR-ETH contract. So we mentioned yesterday that reentrancy attack can be prevented by adding a mutex, that is reentrancy guard. So in this case, the AMP token is protected by this mutex, the reentrancy guard, but it ignores the business logic that other function can be reentrant. So in this case, the attacker did not borrow AMP tokens but borrowed ETH. Therefore, the mutex was being bypassed. So the attacker already borrowed 19 million AMP in step 2, and the collateral rate does not support the attacker to borrow ETH again. However, the contract sends the AMP token to the attacker first and then records the borrowing information. So the borrowing is not recorded when borrowing ETH, and the collateral is still 500 ETH previously pledged. So in this case, similar to yesterday, that the attacker uses his balance once to withdraw assets multiple times, the attacker uses collateral to borrow multiple assets that's way above his collateral's value by using a reentrancy vulnerability. Yeah, so as we can see, the check after interaction pattern was not met. The record of borrowing was changed after the token was being sent. So this gives the attacker opportunity to perform reentrancy attack. At the end of loan, the attacker gets 120% of original collateral value in tokens, but some of them are AMP tokens with only 355 Ether and cannot return the Ether borrowed via flash loan, which makes the transaction unsuccessful. The attacker has come up with a smart way to get part of the previous collateral by liquidating the attack contract A with another attack contract B. So attacker actually created two contracts because the first contract cannot repay flash loan by itself. Since the attacker's collateral assets are already overborrowed, anyone can liquidate them, and the attacker only needs to use half the AMP to get the liquidation opportunity. By calculation, the attacker was able to use 9,000 CR ETH for liquidation, and 187 Ether was obtained by proportional liquidation. So as we know that if your account is underwater, anyone can be a liquidator and initiate a liquidating transaction and will get certain amount for rewards. The attack contract obtained 500 Ether and 9 million AMP tokens. The attacker returned flash loan successfully and then swapped tokens, getting a profit of 41 Ether and 9 million AMP tokens. So with the market value, it's almost $18 million. Yeah, so in our trace diagram, we can see that the attacker transferred most of the stolen funds to Genesis safe and a small amount to decentralized exchange. So same as last incident, the attacker was never caught. Yeah. So yeah, crypto ecosystem is full of this example. Okay. It's still valuable that we provide this trace diagram to the law enforcement and other exchanges, because a lot of those assets are still remain in the original address and not being cashed out yet. Yeah, so this is basically how we analyze attack transactions, the details can get very complex, and researchers usually spend like hours just to figure out like what this transaction does. And as you can see, the process is very complex, and we rely on multiple tools to conduct our research. And sometimes the contract is even not open source. For example, in this elephants project case, that this 0xD5 contract, which is an essential component in this hack, is not open source at all. And we have to rely on past interactions to see what this function does. And without using those transaction analysis tool, it would not be possible.
So if it's not open source, how do the people who did this, how would they? It must be insiders who have access to the code.
Not necessarily. So, for example, if this function, so for example, if you go to their website and interact with your wallet, then you send transactions. So maybe it's a transaction that interacted with closed source contract, but the transaction is still recorded on the blockchain. So for people who have knowledge in how to look deep into the transaction, they can figure out what this function does. So for example, after this function, how many assets was transferred to that? In this case, reward. That means the custom token was transferred back to the attacker's address. For the contract for the transaction initiator, that means it is a redeem function.
Well, so that is a lot of work to reverse engineer.
Yes, yes. But if the attacker is a regular user of the project, then then they would know, because they see like what transactions are being recorded on blockchain. And how many people here actually like played with flash loan before? No? No. Yeah. But I encourage you to all like play with flash loans, because it's really cool, and it doesn't cost you money, because as long as you return all the amount at the end of transaction, the fee is almost minimum. So, but it's powerful when you have so much assets, because you can do a lot of manipulations, and it's almost like for example, if you had like $1 billion just for 1 hour, what you do, kind of thing. So, but you need to return it. Yeah, and there's a.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It's not so much on the. I'm asking from a product perspective.
Yeah.
What is the incentive of the creditor actually loaning out a flash loan?
Sorry.
What is the actual business incentive or the incentive for a flash loan, like the creditor actually loaning out a flash loan? What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of flash loan.
Yeah.
Because like it's a popular product, a lot of people are using it. For example, arbitrageurs, and some flash loan providers, they use they basically charge a fee when a flash loan is being carried out. Yeah, and usually it works like that. So for protocols to attract users to deposit their assets into their protocol, and those assets need to have interest in order to attract users. So where do those interests come from? It comes from the people who borrow those assets. So they can either borrow it short-term, long-term, or it's flash loan. So flash loan is part of that business model.
It's a fee-based income.
Yes.
Flash loan can only borrow with code, right?
Yes, you have to.
There's no UI to borrow.
No, you have to write code, because, yeah, but it's not that complex. I'm gonna show like a simple
I was
first.
just trying to understand, how is it that you did the first flash loan with I think was it 500 Ether, right?
Yeah.
And there is a supposed rule that he's not, it's like rule space, he's not supposed to reloan that same thing again, but then he went to loan 355 CR Ether instead. So that is a business logic manipulation or error, isn't it?
That one is just a regular use of business logic.
Oh,
That's the protocol how it's supposed to function.
I see.
Yeah.
So he repeated the borrowing again, but he didn't borrow the same amount and the same token. He used another token,
Yeah.
borrowed another token.
Yeah.
See, this is where I think the gap is, right?
Yeah.
This is there's no KYC, there's no AML. Like, this cannot happen in a proper financial institution kind of situation. But in a blockchain finance
Yes, exactly.
space, free
Yeah.
flow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what happens is attacker use flash loan because attacker basically has no money at first. So use flash loans to borrow assets, deposit the assets into that, and use the deposit tokens to act as collateral to borrow assets. But in the borrowing process, the contract has a vulnerability, reentrancy, that the attackers were not able to borrow the original asset, but was able to borrow another asset. So
Loopholes
yes,
within that product.
yes. So I have this GitHub repository called Flash Loan Comparison. It has different providers of flash loan, and you can see their fees and how much they can be borrowed. Yeah. And like what function names that you use. And I believe that like if you ask the chat GPT to write you a contract to borrow flash loan, they will write it for you. So
Definitely.
yeah. So I encourage you all to try it out. Yeah. And this is Ethereum because the reason that you need contracting in Solidity to perform flash loan is because you have a callback mechanism. But in terms of SUI and Aptos, the flash loan is more natural. Yeah, because the assets cannot be dropped the assets has to be returned before it goes out of scope. So at the end of scope, it has to be returned at the end of function.
There's a time duration to the scope.
No, the assets cannot be dropped, cannot be destroyed. So that's why the flash loan is kind of intuitive. You just borrow the assets and you return at the end of transaction. Yeah. And in other blockchains they also have flash loans like Solana and any EVM chains they have flash loan too.
So the purpose of that loan is just take that loan and then after that, the arbitrage or it's like a contract basically.
Yes. Yes. So you get the money, like it runs through your business logic, and then you return it. Yeah.
Within the same session.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see that the Uniswap has 0.3% fee. They also free flash loan providers, which I don't really understand their business logic. Maybe they're trying to attract users, but you can borrow money for free. Yeah. Yeah. So Balancer is also free, and AAV is 0.09.
How quickly does the flash loan have to be returned?
Sorry?
The flash loan. How quickly does it have to be returned?
Within the same transaction, at the end of transaction.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it was the elephant incident happened May last year, and at the time I wrote a proof of concept I wrote a contract that does exactly what the hacker did. So that's also a part of the job. We have to basically find out what the hacker did, and just to maybe simulate a transaction again. Just to Yeah, so the process is very complex, but that's basically the contract I implemented. I think the attacker has similar code. And basically just a bunch of import, like how much we need to borrow. And yeah, this function, the function bswap call, it is a flash loan receiver. This enables the contract to act on the flash loan received from the pancake swap. So first we use console.log, which is a feature in Hot Hat, but it's also compatible in Foundry. So that's why like I prefer using the development suite, because you can actually have interactive information while the contract is running. And after that, I buy Elephant using BNB, and then I mint trunk using the BUSD. Then I sell the Elephant, and then I redeem the trunk token, and then and I sell Elephant for WBNB. So this process was repeated by attackers a lot of times. I just repeated twice. And final step would be sell this WBNB for BUSD. So this can also be ran within the same block as the original transaction. I haven't ran it in a while. I'll see if it can be ran anymore. This test. Yeah, I'm not sure like the exact bug that happened. So yeah, I'll run it later afterwards. But basically, this is the sample attack contract.
So the mechanics that work in the background is like you deploy the contract, right?
Yeah.
Then someone say, okay, I will lend this contract alone.
Yeah.
Is that right? If no one, because you have requesting for a flash loan, so if no one responds to that, then your contract doesn't execute. Is that all?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay. So the way that your contract will execute is because someone will lend you the flash loan, right? Or not?
Yes.
So if no one lends it, then you can't execute your contract.
Yes, because this contract is specifically designed to receive flash loans and use the flash loan amount to do some logic.
Okay. So is there a possibility that no one will say, okay, I'll lend this person this contract?
If the contract has flash loan code in its contract that allows flash loan operation, that means you can get flash loan because it's written in the code.
You get it.
Yeah.
So for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Okay. Yeah. Before this KYT lecture, maybe you can take a look at this elephant transaction and let me know if you have any problems, because it took me like almost 4 hours to figure out like what went wrong. So yeah, it's yeah. but if you look at this attacker steps, like if you are curious about which part of the logic, just let me know. And in the meantime, I'll just set up the running environment and to see like what an attacker would see in his terminal when he executes his attack. Okay? Yeah. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. I know it's difficult because it's very difficult for me last year as well. Yeah.
Who is the main body of the loan issuer?
Sorry?
Who is the main body of the loan issuer? Who issues the flash loans? The owner of the loans?
The owner of
It's the pool.
yeah, it's a pool. Yes.
Pool money.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
yeah,
pool,
it's
pool of money.
yeah,
It's not any entity.
It's not a legal entity. It's
Yeah.
a pool of money.
yeah. It's a pool with smart contract. Yeah.
So how does it incentivize the person who issues the loans then? How do they make money?
They can get fees, but they are also no fee pools. So I think they just use it for attract users.
Users.
Yeah. Also, they make some assets free and make some assets like a little bit of fee. So different models, different business models.
You pay the fees in actual fiat?
No, you pay the fee like certain percentage of the coin you borrow. For example, you're borrowing BUSD, then the 0.03% will be paid as fee to this pancake swap,
Right.
pancake LP, cake LP. Yeah.
Right.
Do you have any questions or anything you want to ask about this elephant attack? If not, yeah.
So can I just check? So for the green finance incident,
Yeah.
I suppose they are clients of Beosin.
They're not.
So how did the Eagle Eye detect all these things?
So our Eagle Eye is basically, I'll show you our Eagle Eye platform later,
Okay.
but it is like a alert system that monitors transactions on all chains.
Even
So
though they're not a client.
yes, it's just basically happen on blockchain. It happens in public.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they are our client or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you go back to a traditional platform development,
Yeah.
usually the platform would do its own testing and security testing and everything before they launch, right?
Yeah.
So assuming we go back in time and see that we are the green finance developers.
Yeah.
So before we launch tomorrow, we'll do our own internal testing and all that. So would that have been done before they launched it, and this attack will still come after that testing, internal testing?
Like if they underwent a security audit, then this attack could potentially be stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means they launched the platform without sufficient security of
Yes. Yes. That's the case. Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, there are potentially decentralized platforms that are live today that hasn't gone through this audit, and everyone could be a potential.
Yeah. Or it could be the case that they got their code audited, but afterwards they made modifications. But after they made modifications, they were like, oh, audits are too expensive. I'm not going to go through it again. So they just launched it directly. But the code they added afterwards might contain bugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And in fact, Green Finance was attacked, not this time, but almost, 3 times. Yeah. And every time the loss is over $1.5 million.
You're
So
wondering whether it's an internal attack.
yeah, like they haven't done anything yet. I think maybe right now they can't operate anymore. Yeah, but obviously like it's very irresponsible to have your protocol attacked and lose so much money over and over again.
Yeah, but also makes you wonder that if they don't audit and they just launch, and
Yeah.
then they have money coming in,
Yeah,
and then you have a series of these attacks,
Yeah.
and they don't do anything about it, could it be an internal?
uh,
It's a quick buck method.
I mean like it's everyone's guess, right?
Right.
So yeah, because those types of attacks can be conducted by anyone, and Green Finance contract is indeed open source. So like anyone who's looking at the code can exploit this bug.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, just to follow up previously, this is one of the commands I used to simulate the attack happened in Elephant, and this is the old Foundry. Like because I wrote this POC last May. Right now, Foundry is more convenient. I don't need to specify those fork block number or fork URL on the command line anymore. I can code them in a contract in a setup code. So just run this, and you can see that attackers will get money in his account. So first, attacker has 0 BUSD. Attacker doesn't have any money. And now I borrow some, and then afterwards, the attacker's contract magically got like 350,000 USD. So by exploiting this vulnerability, the attacker can get almost 400 grand out of nothing. And everything he used was borrowed from flash loan providers. And the tool is the same one I introduced yesterday, the Foundry suite.